Both languages, English and Botswana, have an impact on the culture. Very young children already have a pride in themselves in what remains of their culture that they still practice a lot at home. Like, when there's funeral processions, the girls aren't, unmarried women aren't allowed to watch them, so the girls kind of do their own thing, and the boys, like, get to watch all the cars go by. Um, However, all that kind of changes as soon as they start going to school. English becomes their way to get a good job, and they know this from a very early age. It's like drilled into their heads that they have to do well, and they have to like learn English like perfectly. This is because a lot of families uh they live like generation after generation in the same home, so like grandparents, parents, and children all in the same house, and the children take care of their parents as they get older. And in order to do that, they have to have a job. Um, Despite all the pressure to do really well in English, though, it's not spoken at home. It's really only spoken at school. So it makes it a lot harder for the young kids to learn English, and they really only, it creates like a really like huge divide between their private lives at home and their school lives, where they like hang out with their friends and like speak English and stuff as much as they can, whereas at home they really only speak Setswana. Um, the reason parents don't speak it, parents tend to know English. They don't speak it at home though because their parents tend not, the parents or the grandparents tend not to speak English, so they don't want to have to keep repeating themselves over and over and over again. So they speak Setswana to make it easier for themselves. Um, I have a friend Tumi from Botswana who went to Texas, and she was amazed that her cousins who lived in America and had lived in America for like their whole lives, they didn't know Setswana, but they spoke English at home and at school, and that was like that blew her mind. Which is kind of weird to think that that's just normal for someone. So I don't know, just and a lot of people do that in England in America too, but just for me that was weird. But so I said in my presentation that their TV is in Setswana and in English. A lot of their TV shows are in English, and a lot of people speak Setswana on them, like their game shows and stuff. They'll speak a little bit of Setswana, but they're mostly based in English, and the young kids don't really watch TV though, so that doesn't really help them at all. The only times they really get to watch TV are like special occasions, sometimes like for birthday parties or something. They'll be able to like watch a movie, and their movies are in English because they're movies from America for the most part. And then they also, when they watch the news, they watch it in Setswana so their grandparents can understand it. So they only watch it once because they're not going to watch it again. And then they also um when they watch soccer, when they really, that's like, well, the one thing that they do get to watch is soccer. Soccer's their main sport, and that's the commentary from that is in Setswana. So the pressure to do so well in English is so hard on on even the little kids that they get so proud when when they do really well in it, or even if they learn like a new word or something, they start using it all the time, and it's really cute. And like my little host siblings, they didn't know much. They knew like their colors and stuff, but I had anytime I was near them, they would like point out colors or words that they knew in English, and they would sit there and listen to me talk and try and figure out what I was saying, and then they didn't really understand a lot of it, but they were still like they really were like trying to understand, which was I thought it was a little unusual because a lot of kids would have just been like, oh, they're speaking another language that I don't understand. Um, there's a huge difference, though, between the North and the South. Of Botswana, in the southern part of the country, um, Botswana is still a lot bigger than it is in in the North. Um, they in the South they speak it at home. In the North, they don't really at all. It's mostly English. You when my group that went to Botswana, when we traveled from the southern part of the country to the northern part of the country, we didn't hear anybody speaking Setswana really at all. Like there were no like overheard phone conversations or anything like that in Setswana, or like somebody running like a little shop or something, they didn't like switch from Setswana to English when they saw us. They only spoke English. Um, a lot of the southern part of the country is starting to get more like that, especially with like the late teens and early 20s. Um, they really, you can see there's a huge generation difference between them where the oldest generation doesn't speak English really at all. Some people do, like, if it's required for their job, if their family was rich. And then the next generation, so their children, more of them speak English, but they're really proud of their Setswana roots, and they speak Setswana all the time. And then there's the late teens to early 20s, sorry, who speak English as much as they can, and they're proud of it, like the little kids are. And they're constantly, like, when they meet somebody who's from a native English speaker, they're like showing off their English speaking skills and like trying to find out like different things that they hadn't known from them. So with this generation that is refusing to speak Setswana, it's kind of made them, created a gap between them and their elders, so like their grandparents and that generation who doesn't really speak English, because they're just refusing to speak it, and they don't, part of being a Tswana was respecting your elders, and they aren't really doing that, so it's kind of really starting to bother a lot of people. As well as not respecting their elders, they aren't respecting their local government. Their local government is set up like chiefs, so the chiefs can punish local crimes like theft and stuff like that. And so because that part of their government is done in Setswana because it's the local villages. The younger generation are like, well, we don't have to listen to you. However, the federal government is done in English, and they really they'll like follow the rules and stuff when it comes to that. But if they get in trouble with the local government, to them it's like it's not real almost. It's like a pretend government. At the same time that this younger generation is starting to move away from Setswana, some local villages are starting up these traditional schools where men and women are sent away from their villages for like 3 months at a time, and they're cut off from anything that's like English or anything like that, and they learn how to be good husbands and wives and mothers and fathers. That's what they used to do a long time ago, and they've kind of started to bring it back to kind of like get back in touch with their like past. And part of that is to try and get the younger generation to be more like proud of their ancestors. Despite those people who are trying to get back towards like their ancestors and stuff, the Bushmen are one of the Aboriginal groups of people in Botswana, and they have always lived a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and the government has been okay with that, but now they aren't. They're like taking the little kids and making them live with other families, so they have to go to school and they have to learn English and everything, and they're even some of the kids are told by not the government but other people that they aren't smart because they don't know English, which is really sad because, I mean, they haven't really had an education or anything, but that doesn't mean that they're not smart. So despite the public's use of English, because English is used everywhere, it's on like every sign and everybody speaks it at work, besides the really older people in the country, but I mean, everybody speaks it. Setswana still does have a place there. When you first arrive in Gaborone, which is the capital, there's a huge sign that says "Dumela" is how we say welcome in Setswana. which I think is really interesting. And then most ATMs and other informational things are both in English and Setswana, like how instructions on the other things are like that in the US are in both English and Spanish. Along with the informational things, people have found out that foreigners like to have little like postcards and stuff like that have information about with Setswana words and like pictures of like bushmen. So like this picture right here, sorry, this is confusing, is a picture of the bushmen. They're like around a fire, like celebrating something. So that's like a really popular postcard. And then there is this, which is a picture of a lion. And up here it says lion in English, and down here it says Tau, which is Setswana for lion. And then they have other things like this where it's like this is a postcard. The lion thing was an informational thing about predators. They have other ones with like different snakes on them, so to identify the poisonous and venomous rattlesnake or venomous snakes in Botswana. And then they have other ones like this, where they have the names of places in Setswana. So like, right here is the Chalbe, so that would be the Chalbe River. Another thing that's kind of interesting is that generation that's kind of like not using Setswana anymore, they're really like using English all the time. They are particular about how things are pronounced. So like if you said the capital of Botswana is Gaborone. If you said it Gaborone, because that's how it's spelled, they would kind of get a little frustrated with you and like make sure you knew how to pronounce it right. And then the same with like places like Chobe. It's spelled like Kobe kind of. It's Chobe. They would correct you on that, and things like that are still kind of really important to them, that like things are said correctly. They really focus on that kind of thing, and animals are really important to them. So Chabe is an elephant, and that's really, their animals are hugely important to them. Thanks for looking at and listening to my presentation.